This is Garuda Linux i3 edition. It features the i3 desktop, and you can see here I already have a bunch of terminals open running btop and htop. Just for something to start with. Now this is a fast, efficient window manager using Xorg. Has a keyboard-driven workflow. It's lightweight and minimal, highly customizable, but it has a steep learning curve. So just know that going in, it isn't super easy and intuitive if you're not used to this type of desktop. So this should be very similar to Sway, which I just tested out. i3 is for X Windows and Sway is for Wayland. The keys and behavior is going to be different. It's already different here. I'm not sure how much of this is due to what's pre-built into i3 and how much is in the pre-built configs that come with the Garuda version of i3. Is Garuda Linux distributes i3 with their own pre-set up configuration file, and all the behavior and key bindings and everything else you can set up in the config file. So let's just jump over here just to give you a view. This is what the plain desktop looks like, and yeah, you can hide the bar if you want. Didn't mean to show that right away, but yeah, this is the plain desktop. You see the bar at the bottom here. Let's just jump back to our first desktop. Have a few things running. None of what's running right now is super important. Now notice the bar at the bottom. I know it's small, it's scaled really small, so it might be harder to see in this video. There's a bunch of stuff flashing around the screen. I better switch back to another desktop. So this bar at the bottom is the i3 bar. Now, this actually comes with Polybar already installed. So if you want to use Polybar instead of the i3 bar, it's already installed. It's just not configured. I was able to get Polybar working by enabling it in the i3 config, but I didn't properly configure it and I broke a few things running both at the same time. So I rolled it back. Now I don't want to get into any more depth on how to configure that or to mess around with a Polybar. It's kind of way out of the scope of this video. I'm also not really planning on sticking with this desktop. I'm going to switch to another one. So I'm kind of just demoing this desktop. But if you really want to use Polybar, you can go into the config file, enable it, and then you have to create a config for it and set it up. And you should also disable the i3 bar here if you want to use Polybar. Just a quick note on that. So let's jump over back to our first desktop here. All right, so before I go any further, I just want to point out, I realized that I know the text is a little bit blurry just because of my capture card and the way I have OBS set up, and the colors aren't as vibrant on this video as they are on my actual screen. One thing that really stands out is on the left side here, you see btop. You see the, it's supposed to be like a bright orangish, yellowish, and greenish on these two little graph looking things for available free and cached memory on the far left of the screen. I'm not seeing any color in the recording. It's just like, it's white. So I think it's just like a deficiency in either OBS or my capture card or whatever it is that's capturing my screen. Anyway, just wanted to point that out real quick. What you're seeing in this video doesn't exactly match what is on my screen, but it's pretty close. I mean, it kind of shows things in the right places and stuff. Anyway, first thing I want to point out is we're going to start with like the features and the key bindings and stuff. And before I do that, let's take a quick look at this i3 bar at the bottom. Not a whole lot to point out here. Doesn't have as much as the Way bar that we took a look at in Sway in that video. But anyways, it shows the desktops at the bottom left here. You can hit mod 2 to open another desktop, mod 3, whatever one. And if you switch away from the desktop, it disappears unless you opened a window on it. You see over here, it shows like kilobits up and down. So your network activity, your disk over here, temperature, volume, which I guess I can't click on. All right. Anyways, I'm not looking too much more deeply with that. The sound or it shows you like the date. The time is a little bit cut off. You have some stuff for USB, or rather not USB, sorry, but for Bluetooth here, you have your clipboard, which is kind of nice. You can just click on these open up. It has Flame Shot. I like Flame Shot better than what was built into Sway, and gives you some alerts here. All right, up, for updating your system. I'm going to cancel. I'm not doing that right now. So I guess I partially upgraded the system when I installed BTOP since having installed this. Here's you can configure your wired or wireless networks, stuff like that. See, it shows my wireless networks in the area, so Wi-Fi is all working just fine. So it gives you some nice modern tools here. Onboard, show onboard. So yeah, this onboard keyboard, I don't know why that's in this version and not in other editions, but anyways, bunch of little tools there. You can hit Mod Q to close a window. I have too many windows open here, so I'm going to kill this and clear this. Now, first thing I'm going to point out is the key bindings. The first key I want to show you is Mod or the Super key or the Windows key. So there's this one button on your keyboard. You could call it the Mod key, the Super key, or the Windows key, or the Command key. And I think there might be other terms people use for it. Anyways, those all mean the same thing. It's on a Windows keyboard. It's the button with the Windows logo on it, and on a Mac it's the Command key, and it's switched around if you have a Mac keyboard, but it's the same button, right? So Command key, Windows key, Super key, Mod key. I'm usually going to probably just call it the Mod key. And in the cheat sheet it shows a little Linux penguin icon to denote this key. So first thing is Mod Shift I will bring up a cheat sheet. Mod Shift I. So a lot of what we do are keyboard combinations, and I'm going to be looking at this little cheat sheet here, but first I'm going to go through the actual, so there's an actual documentation. There's the Garuda Linux wiki. I'm going to go through the Garuda Linux wiki. I'm going to show you a couple things first, then I'm going to be going through the Garuda Linux wiki, and then I'm also going to be going through this cheat sheet. I don't think they completely match up, so I'm just going to go through each one and try everything. Not everything is always working. So not everything works, and I'm not sure if it's just me or if the configs for i3 don't exactly match the cheat sheets. And some of them are working since having rebooted. So we're also going to do a super quick peek at the config file at the end, but that's going to be really brief. I'm not going to show you how to change the config file, or I might point out a few things, but I'm not going into depth with that because that's kind of out of the scope of what I wanted to do in this video. So, but we are going to go through each key binding and all the features that I thought were useful. So I'm going to start going through, and I'm basically going to tell you what keys I'm using to do things and show you how this desktop behaves. And let's see, I'm just going to launch a browser just to, you know what, Dragon, can you launch Fire Dragon just by typing it? Yeah, there we go. So Fire Dragon is the browser. That is the Garuda Linux browser. It is a fork of a fork. It's a fork of Flurp, which is a fork of Firefox. So fork of a fork of Firefox. And you can move windows around like this. So yeah, you can move windows around, place it up here. There you go. So it's interesting how you can move windows around. This is one of the add-ons that it comes up with by default. You can go to gives you this default getting started thing. All right, anyways, we're not going to go through that today. So yeah, it gives you a browser. It also gives you a default search engine. So if you search for something, it brings you to crx.garudalinux.org. Verify that you're human. It's a little bit of a pain, but it's more like a free, open, won't track you type of search engine going right through garudalinux.org. So that's kind of nice. And there's whatever. Anyways, not to get off topic here. I just wanted to open a browser so you see a browser in addition to. Just want to get like a basic website here so you see what it looks like with a website in addition to just terminals. I don't want it to just all be terminals on the screen. Anyways. We're going to start out with, all right, mod. So I could have opened that by doing mod F1. Let's see if it works. Mod F1 opens a browser. So I could have done that instead of typing Fire Dragon being the Garuda Linux browser. So mod F1. So some of these shortcuts weren't working before I rebooted. When I initially tested this out, looks like they're working now. So mod F1 will open up a new browser window, right? And you can move, I'll show you how you can move those around. So you do mod F2 should bring up a mail client. It's saying mail, mail client. Let's give this a try. Mod F2, mail client, Geary. I'm not going to be using that because I generally, did that just die on me? Yeah, because well, to get started, add an email provider above. And I guess it died. I don't know why it died. Something's wrong with that. Either way, I don't use mail clients. I'm using basically webmail for everything. Now you can open a file manager, mod F3. There you go. There's a file manager. Now go to About. I just want to show you, this is Thunar. So it's an XFCE file manager, which makes sense. It's a light file manager. And, it's a light desktop, light file manager. So it makes sense that they would choose this one above something else, right? So I just wanted to open some things just so you can see things on the screen and how things are laid out. Now you can open the preferred text editor with mod F4. Now these are all going to be configurable in your config file. So if you want to edit your config file, the default file manager or text editor that pops up can be whatever you want to configure it to. But these are just the application shortcuts that are the bindings for application shortcuts that are pre-built in here. So here we have our text editor, and I believe this is Mousepad, but yeah, nope, Geany. I don't know why I'm thinking that's Mousepad. This doesn't look like Mousepad even without checking this. But Geany, so this is really a fast and lightweight IDE. I don't know why this is the default text editor, but this is what it comes with by default. I think with Sway we had Mousepad, which would make more sense. But anyways, so screen capture and print functionality. So you see we have an icon down here for Flame Shot. This is actually my preferred screenshot tool. But you can also, if you want to do a screen capture, you can just do print screen like this. And you can see you have a bunch of shortcuts for this. You can use you can just basically highlight part of the screen that you want. You can hit save, copy, save. You have all these little icons for whatever you want to do. You can edit this. You can draw things on it if you want. Draw like an arrow pointing to something, whatever you want. All right, so that's all fine and great. You could, whatever, just a screenshot tool, not super exciting. And yeah, you could save it. It doesn't matter. All right, anyways. So screenshot, you can do print screen to take a screenshot, or you could do mod F9. And this does the same thing. So nothing you really need to care too much about there. Now, in terms of terminal emulators, you can launch Kitty with mod return. So mod enter will bring up a new terminal right here, right? So there's our terminal. Looks all fine and great. Now, you can do mod shift D to launch D menu. It's an application launcher. Mod shift D will bring up D menu. Notice at the top there, we have a little bar and a few little links. And you might be wondering, if you're not familiar with this, you might be wondering, what is this even? There are a bunch of things you can click on to launch programs. And there's a little arrow, so you can scroll to, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to scroll through a bunch of applications. Seems like a terrible way to do things, and that would be. Really what you're supposed to do is right over here, search for what you want. So you can search for example, the terminal. There's the XFCE terminal. So we also have that. So you can search for that. There's the program that matches what you search for. You can click on it, or you cannot click on it. You can just hit enter for it. There you go. XFCE terminal opened up in addition to Kitty. All right, so that's all fine and great. I would go with Kitty. Anyways, launch the cheat sheet. Mod Shift I showed you that at the beginning. There's your cheat sheet. It shows you all the keys. I'm going through the wiki first, and some of these probably overlap a lot. All right, so there's another launcher called Rofi. So you do mod D. And this is actually, I like this a lot better. So Rofi is supposed to be a replacement for, Rofi is supposed to be like a modern replacement for, I had something about this actually. Anyways, it's a modern replacement for D menu, and it looks a little bit nicer. Things are stacked in a way that makes sense. It's the middle of your screen, and it's kind of obvious that you're doing a search. It isn't just a little bit of text at the top of your screen. You could, so mod D, and you could search for a terminal. Let's see, anything that matches terminal, you're going to see it here. So makes sense, right? Now, launch the, so mod T. We have another one. So mod T should open up kitty. There you go. There's kitty, mod T for kitty. And, you know, both of them are kitty. Mod return for kitty. Oops. Mod return for kitty. Mod T for also kitty. Anyways, and I'll show you how you move things around and stuff in a little bit. You can hide or unhide the i3 bar with mod. So the bar at the bottom, mod M will hide it. But if you press the mod key, it pops up so you can see it while you're holding the key down. Let go of the key and it disappears. Press the key down, it shows up. Let go, it disappears. Mod M will make it so it's showing up all the time, right? So lock the screen. You can do, and this is something I wanted to show you. I was going to show you this a little bit later, but since I'm coming across this key binding now, I'm going to show you now. You can do mod L to lock the screen, and you'll notice this is a little bit messed up. This is one of the things that's wrong with it. So mod L locks the screen, and you'll see part of the screen is a little bit, it looks nice with this thing, but you can't see the cursor, and you see there's like this on the two of the sides of the screen, it's all gray, not showing you something. It's just not displaying properly. And it doesn't tell you anything to indicate that it's locked or that you can unlock it, but you can. Basically, just start typing your password like this. And you see that little green thing showing you that you're typing your password. It'll also show you if you have numlock or caps lock on. Then hit enter and it unlocks it. So that little thing is kind of a neat looking indicator, but there's nothing to show you that you should type your password or that the screen's locked or anything. So there's something that's supposed to display there and it's not displaying there on my particular installation. Not sure why that's broken, but that's something that was broken out of the box. So you can, what else do you want to do? Garuda Linux, you could do mod I to launch the installer. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. I think maybe that's just on the live media, not in an install system. Now, if you want to reload your i3 configuration, mod shift C will reload your config. Your config file will be applied anytime you do that, so you don't have to log out and log back in. If you want to restart i3 in place, it's mod shift R, restarts the whole window manager and brings everything back to how it was. You want to log out and reboot and shut down, you can do mod 0. And see at the bottom here, you can choose what you want to do. All right, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to hit escape to get out of there. And you can do supposedly brightness, volume controls, and music controls. They exist by pressing the function key and the respective key on the keyboard. They should work since they've already been configured in the i3 configuration. All right, I'm not going to test any of that out, and I don't have any of those on my keyboard. Right? You know what? I do. I don't have a function key. I'm using a real keyboard, not a laptop. So going to ignore that for now. Yeah, there's no way that's gonna work. All right, so to change focus of a window, all right, you can do mod left, right, up, and down. So mod and the arrow keys, you can see how I'm changing which window is in focus, just using the mod arrow keys, right? Now, if you want to move a focused window, you can do mod shift and arrow keys. So mod shift, move, move, move. You can move it over like that, move it down, move it up, move it to the side, move it further to the side. So mod shift and arrow keys will move windows. Now, you want to split orientation. You should be able to do mod H and mod V. I'm not sure how these work. Mod H, mod V does not seem to work. I'm going to kill a few things. All right. So not going in order on the wiki that I'm reading off of, but mod Q. So mod Q will kill something. So you can kill a window with mod Q. I wanted to bring it down to 2 windows. Now, let's see, mod H does doesn't really seem to do anything. I think this is supposed to change the layout of these. Not working for me. Either it's me or these key bindings are not correct. Maybe I don't fully understand how to work with a tiling window manager properly. Productivity commands. You can do mod space to change to toggle floating mode. So mod space. Now we have our terminal in floating mode, right? So there's a terminal behind it and it's just floating there. You can drag the window around. If you do mod, hold down the mod key, click on the window, you can drag it around anywhere you want. Works just fine, right? Mod space switches it right back to tiling mode. So mod space and mod click and drag. Mod space to put it back there. Mod click it. I can't click and drag while it's in tiling mode. I could swear I could do this with sway, and you should be able to configure i3 to do the same thing. Just doesn't look like it's configured to do that here. So floating tiling, toggle, you know what? All right, so there's mod space, and then there's mod shift space. Should configure tiling floating windows in general. That doesn't seem to do anything. All right, anyways, mod A will focus on the parent. So I guess all of these windows. And I can change them all to floating and move them. That is really interesting. Okay, that's strange. So you can make all your tiling windows separate, I guess. So mod A and then mod shift space. No. I'm not sure what this is not, yeah, this is interesting. I don't know how to get back into tiling mode with these. So yeah, full disclosure, I'm not used to tiling window managers. Sway was a little bit more intuitive than they should be equivalent, but I guess the pre-built configuration with Sway was a little bit more intuitive. Okay, so back to tiling mode. If I kill everything, only those windows that were open popped out into that separate mode. So I think everything that was tiled popped out into a floating window by itself, and I didn't know how to get back into that window and do tiling mode just for those windows. That's a little bit strange. All right, toggle sticky is mod shift S. I'm not sure what that actually does. All right, anyways. Move container to scratch pad. So you can do mod shift minus. We'll move a container to the scratch pad, and you can hide the scratch pad with mod minus. And all right, it brings it back as a floating window. You can do mod space to set it back to tiling mode. So your scratch pad is like a hidden workspace or desktop that anything you want to move it there to get it out of the way, you can move it to your scratch pad, and it's almost like the idea of minimizing a window in a normal window manager. So mod shift minus and mod minus. And what else? Move to the next workspace. So you can do mod control right. That should move this window to another workspace. It's not. Okay, I can jump to another workspace. Okay, you know what? I think I have to have a workspace enabled, and this will switch between workspaces. So if you open up a window in your workspace and then switch back, that workspace will stay open. Then you can do mod control right to jump over to this workspace, so you can switch between workspaces with holding mod control and arrow keys will switch between workspaces. So that's nice. Left and right are previous and next workspace, and same deal with alt control. Okay, you can do alt control left and right or mod control left and right. So two different ways to do that. Now to switch, the other way to switch workspaces I already showed you is mod and the number of the workspace. So you could do mod 2, mod 1 for existing workspaces. can create a new workspace, let's say mod 7. It just creates a new workspace called mod 7. If you switch back to 1, it will clear that workspace out of there because we didn't have any windows open on it. You open a window on a workspace, it will remain there. So you can move focus container to workspace. All right, so whatever containers focus. All right, let's just open something on here so this terminal looks different. Let's say we want to move this to workspace 2. So you know what, let's move it to another workspace. Let's say workspace 3, right? So mod shift, you know what, let's do workspace 5. So we moved it to workspace 5. Let's jump over there. Workspace 5 now has this as the only window in the workspace because we moved it over there. So that's how you can move a window to another workspace, which is fine. I could see this being really great if once you get used to all of these shortcuts, and if you like this workflow, you can resize a window with mod left, up, down, right, and then mode default is mod return. All right, I think I need. Okay, so mod. This just moves them. All right, I can make this. All right, so the key bindings do not work. So mod left, up, down. Yeah, this does nothing. Mod enter does nothing. That's supposed to do mode default. I'm not sure what that means. So this is in floating mode. Switch back to this mode. Now, technically, you can resize windows like this. You're just using the mouse, no mod key or anything. If you switch this to floating mode, you can still use the mouse to resize the window. It's a little bit of a pain. You have to get just the right place, but you can resize things with the mouse. If you hold mod, you can drag the window down. All right, you know what? Mod right click lets you, this is a lot easier. So instead of having to align it right on a border like you normally would, you could hold mod and right click and resize it. So this is the same behavior we saw with, so we saw this with Sway. Similar behavior. This is actually easier than a normal window manager. So you can click anywhere, whichever corner you're closest to, mod, right click, and then you can resize from there. Really nice and intuitive, excellent way to do things. Then you can switch mod space to switch right on out of that mode. So that's not, you can use the mouse to reset. You know what, mod right click. Okay, this works. Okay, in this mode. All right, let's move something down here. All right, mod right click. This lets you resize like this. It will snap to the edge of a window, so it does horizontally or vertically. It won't snap to the corner when you're in tiling mode, but if you pop a window out into floating mode and you do mod right click, it resizes from the corner. So you're resizing in your XY coordinates. Once you place this in here in tiling mode, you're resizing either horizontally or vertically, depending on which you clicked closer to. Right, but so you can use the mouse and the right click button. That's incredibly useful for this. And that's the last of the things that I see here on the wiki. So let's do mod shift I for your keyboard shortcuts. Is there anything I missed on here? All right, open text, application launcher, resize window. Okay, mod R. All right, you know, I actually want to try that. Mod R. I did not. All right, I'm not sure. Wider. Okay, once you get into this mode, you can resize like that. That's kind of nice, right? It jumps a few steps, so you could do something kind of reasonable. And then mod R, escape gets you out of there. Mod R, resize this window. You can use your arrow keys to change the size of the window, escape to get out of it. That's kind of nice. I swear I did not see that on the wiki. Resize. The wiki does not show you how to do that. That's kind of interesting. So the instructions on the wiki do not match the instructions on the cheat sheet. I did not want to. Mod Shift I. Yes, so the cheat sheet and the wiki don't match, and not everything works. So realistically, if you really want to make this your window manager, you should probably set all the key bindings yourself, and you should probably you should probably do it all in the config and come up with your own custom config and take the time to learn how the config works if you want to really get control over everything. Anyways, you can kill the focused window. This is what I've been doing. Control C and Control Q. This kills the current window. I think that wasn't mentioned in the wiki. How about that? Yeah, Control C, Control Q to kill those two windows, right? Kill whatever window is focused. You can toggle split direction. Okay, Mod Shift Q. I actually want to try this. So Mod Shift Q. No, that does nothing. It's doing a special keyboard code. Yeah, that does absolutely nothing. So Mod Shift Q does not do what it tells you. Toggle floating, we already tried that. Okay, full screen. Here's a good one. You can do Mod F for full screen. That's working just as well as it was in Sway. So you want something full screen, there you go. That's pretty nice actually. And what else do we have here? Switch workspace, send to workspace. We've done all of those. Navigate workspaces. Change focus is just mod an arrow key to move around, and that works if you're in tiling mode, not focused on a floating window, right? Now, you can, all right, we did restarting and reloading the config, log out, so everything else we've covered. So that's basically everything in the documentation. If you wanted to go further, you would have to look at the config file, which I think is what we're going to do next here. So, all right, we looked at all right, take a quick look at the config. Yeah, let's take a look at the config right now. So, let's see. We already looked at the messed up lock screen, so let's take a look at the config file. It is in the home directory, and so we're going to vi.config home directory config/i3/config. So this is the config file. Let's open this up, and if there was ever a time to do full screen, here we go. Now is it, right? So no syntax highlighting. I don't know if I have the proper Vim or if it's configured correctly. Maybe I need to install the full Vim. Would have thought they would give you that by default. But anyways, set number. I'm just going to show the line numbers so you can see how far along you are in the file. And yeah, it would have been nicer if this had syntax highlighting. It's harder to see like this. But here you go. This is the config file. So if you search for, let's say, polybar, for example, right here, and it's hard to see what's highlighted. There's one, I know the text is small for this video, and I can increase the text size. There we go. So Shift Control will increase the terminal text size. And polybar right here on line 66. If you can see, I know that might be hard to see on this video, but if you uncomment this line and reload the config, you're going to get polybar at the top of the screen. You really need to be configuring polybar though. You need to, what the documentation I found says is you can copy an existing template file into your home directory, into your config directory for polybar, and then you'll need to come up with a config for that. You can find someone else's config or do your own. Then you're going to have to remove the i3 bar. So i3 bar, let's see if we can find that. This is the i3 bar configuration. So that bar at the bottom of the screen, this whole thing here, this is your i3 bar configuration. This tells you right here, panel, start i3 bar to display workspace bar. This is your configuration for it. So the background, the status line, all of this stuff, right? And yeah, basically, these are all your configurations, your key bindings, window rules, things like that. Basically, all the behavior of your system is all defined in this config file here, right? So yeah, these are like for mode system. You want to lock your system. L. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to get too deep into this. I I did not intend to show you how to use the config file or anything like that in this video, but yeah, super one. So to do a key binding, you say bind sim $super for your super key, and then the number 1 will switch to workspace 1. This is how you define it. It says jump to that workspace. Move container for this, yeah, shift 1, right? This is just how you, basically all your key bindings, this is how they work. Not going to go any deeper with that today. That's as far as I wanted to go with key bindings today. And that's mostly what I wanted to show you for i3 behavior and stuff like that. So yeah, this is Garuda Linux i3 edition. It does come with a collection of Garuda Linux specific tools. Let me see if I can just, you know, I'm gonna Garuda Rani, right? Let's launch. I want to just launch this just to show you. Maybe I can't. I don't know how. There we go. Garuda Rani, right? So mod F, let's full screen this. So this is a nice tool. Lets you change, do a lot of system maintenance stuff like update your system, clear your cache, clear orphans, refresh mirrors, install software, do a lot of gaming settings, diagnostics, all sorts of nice stuff. So that's the Google Rani tool. I'm going to kill that. I'm not going into any more depth in this video. So I cover this Garuda Rani, or if I'm saying that right, Rani or Rani. It is a nice, one of a few Garuda Linux distributed tools that's made by the Garuda Linux team, distributed with all the Garuda Linux editions. So I went over all of those tools separately in my general Garuda Linux video. So I have one big general Garuda Linux video where I cover all the Garuda Linux specific tools. I give you an overview of Garuda Linux and what sets it apart in general. I talk about all the additions, all the features, and then I'm going to cover every single addition in detail in that main video. You're going to want to check that video out. So also I've done a separate video for each of the additions, but I also compiled them all together in one big general video where I cover all the general information and show all the additions. So you're going to want to check all those videos out. I should have a link in the description of this video to check each of those out. Probably just go straight to the general video if you want everything all in one. If you only care about one edition, click on one edition. But if you want the general information on all the Garuda Linux specific tools and utilities, check out the general video, my big Garuda Linux video. Also, this should be part of a Garuda Linux playlist, also part of my general Linux playlist. So check out the playlists if you want to see a list of all the videos. And that's about everything I wanted to show you for today. So definitely remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Leave a comment down below if you've tried the i3 window manager or if you prefer something else like Hyperland or Sway. But that's it for today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on that next video.